What's up, hikers? Bigfoot here. I have a special video for you today. I'm going to cover everything that you need to know about climbing Katahdin and descending Katahdin, camping in or outside of Baxter State Park, and parking at Baxter State Park. This will also be applied for not just thru hikers, northbounders and southbounders, but your friends and family that want to be there for the finale or the kickoff of your thru hike. All right, well, to kick things off, guys, I'm going to first cover everything about northbounders, then we'll talk about southbounders, and then we'll talk about all the guests, your friends, your family that want to come up and visit you in Baxter State Park. Now, the northern terminus of the 100-mile wilderness is Golden Road, which is your first paved road. You'll come out of the woods, and it will be your first paved road that you've seen since you left Monson. Now, you will be under 1 mile to Abel Bridge. Abel Bridge is a popular bridge. It goes over the Penobscot River, and you get the most exquisite vantage point of Katahdin that you'll see. It's an amazing moment. I took a picture here, and it's just a really special moment for northbounders as you are approaching the final miles of your thru hike. Now, staying in or outside Baxter State Park, you have a few different options at this point. The only options that you have of a place that has accommodations is Abel Bridge Campground and Store, which is right here where you're at once you cross over Abel Bridge. The campground there offers showers, offers breakfast to everyone that stays at their campground the next morning. You can get hot meals, you can get food, ice cream at the camp store, and the prices are fair. Everything that you pay at Abel Campground is per person. During their peak season, which is both August and September, it's going to be $25 per person, and that's for a tent site, that's for an RV site, but everything is primitive, so there's no hookups, no electricity, no water, but they do have shower houses, so you can shower. And bunk houses they offer is $75 for the first couple, and then for every person after that, it'll be $30 per person, and they will fit up to 6 people in the bunk houses. The bunk houses are private, and again, all prices are per person because it includes breakfast. Now, Abel Campground, Bridge Campground is going to be a pretty popular choice for a lot of thru hikers that are really hungry and want to get a shower and just kind of want to get geared up for their finale. Now, one special note on here is Abel Bridge Campground is about 15 miles from the summit of Katahdin. So, if you decide to stay at Abel Bridge Campground, you have a couple different choices. You could stay here and then hike all the way up to Baxter State Park, up to the summit of Katahdin. But remember, you have to go back down Katahdin as well. Depending on which route you take, you are looking at somewhere between an 18 to as much as a 23 mile day on your last day. Now, that's first option. Your second option is you can actually go into Baxter State Park and you can stay at one of 2 different places for northbound hikers. That really makes sense. Either you can stay at Katahdin Stream Campgrounds, which is going to require a reservation. There are 20-something sites at Katahdin Stream Campground, and anybody can stay at Katahdin Stream Campgrounds with a reservation. The other option you have, which is the most popular option for thru hikers, is to stay at the Birches. The Birches is a special lean-to that accommodates only 12 hikers, but they only allow northbound hikers to stay here. Once they fill and hit their 12-person capacity, nobody else can stay at the Birches. I believe there is one tent site, and then everyone else has to stay in the lean-to. So you do have a little bit of a gamble if you want to stay at the Birches, and especially if you don't have a reservation at Katahdin Stream Campground, you kind of have to have a plan of where you're going to stay. So again, northbound hikers, if you're staying and you're not going to go right up to the summit, you can either stay at Abel Bridge Campground, which again, you're going to look at 15 plus miles just to get to the summit, not including descending, or you can stay at the Birches or at Katahdin Stream Campground. Now, one other thing that I wanted to point out is all of the campsites at Baxter State Park are primitive campsites. They don't offer showers, there's no restaurants, and the bunkhouses that they have, to my understanding, there's also no mattresses there. So just something to keep in mind, especially if you're a guest and you are looking to have a little more accommodations. Baxter State Park is very, very primitive. Now for me, I actually met my parents in Baxter State Park at Katahdin Stream Campground, and we went back and stayed in Millinocket the night before my summit day, and then they just drove me back to Katahdin Stream Campground to summit. So, but everyone's going to be a little different. I know a lot of people though that stay at Abel Bridge Campground just so that they can get a nice hot meal and a shower, things like that before they are about to finish their entire journey. All right, so that's camping and what your options are for staying in or outside Baxter State Park right before your summit day. Now, once you leave Abel Bridge Campground and Store, you are going to hit the boundary where you're going to enter Baxter State Park in about 3/4 of a mile. Once you enter Baxter State Park, you're going to see an informational board, and there will be a ranger there. The ranger is going to be able to be there to help answer any questions that you have. He will also be able to tell you whether or not there is room or accommodations at the Birches for northbound hikers. So if you are planning on staying at the Birches, that's a person that you'll talk to. You'll want to give them your name and then lock up your spot so that you have accommodations at the Birches for the night before your summit day. Now, once you check in with that first ranger and enter Baxter State Park, you got about a 10-mile hike to get to Katahdin Stream Campground. Now, once you get into Katahdin Stream Campground, you're about 5.2 miles away from the actual summit of Katahdin. Now, whether you're staying in Katahdin Stream Campground at a reserve site, the Birches, or you are just continuing to head and going to summit that day, you have to stop at the ranger station and pick up your permit to be able to summit Katahdin. Here's my permit that I had for summiting Katahdin. Kind of a cool little souvenir that you get after walking 2,200 miles. This was the date that I actually had my permit made, which was the 30th, and I was summiting on the 31st. But this is something that I keep with all of my important stuff that I remember from my Appalachian Trail through hike. Now, at that ranger station is where you can swap in your through hiking pack for a day pack. I would say about 80% of the people that I saw the day I summited kept their entire through hiking pack with all their gear in it. I did as well. I just felt like I brought it the entire way all the way to Maine. You know, what's another 5 miles? Most Sobos I heard actually take a day pack, which is a smart decision because the ascent and descent is very strenuous on Katahdin, and the less weight that you have on your back, the better. All right, let's talk about climbing and descending Katahdin here. I'll talk about the northbounders first, then the southbounders. So the Appalachian Trail goes through Katahdin Stream Campground. Katahdin Stream Campground is one of 3 Katahdin trailheads. You have Katahdin Stream, you got Abel Campground, and then you have Roaring Brook Campground. Those are the 3 areas that you can park at and the 3 trailheads that you have. Now, going back to Katahdin Stream Campground, the Appalachian Trail goes right through here and becomes the Hunt Trail. Now, this is the ranger station right here where you will get your permit. In addition, you will also exchange your pack if you choose. If you have visitors, guests that are going to climb with you, or someone that you just want to meet you in Baxter State Park, you want them to meet you at Katahdin Stream Campground, and they'll have to get a parking permit for Katahdin Stream Campground. I'll talk about that a little later. Now, the first mile up the Hunt Trail is very mild. My parents actually hiked up here with me. They want to do a part of the Hunt Trail with me. Once you hit Katahdin Stream Falls, it's your last water source on the trail, and there's a bathroom right here as well. Just past that, you're going to hit the intense part of climbing Katahdin. You are climbing, works out to be about 2.3 miles, and you are ascending over 3,000 feet, so pretty intense here. Now, once you make it up, right up here, this is known as the Gateway or the Tableland, and it's really flat. It's actually completely flat. Some people think this is the very top of Katahdin, and that's not the case.
You'll walk about another 3/10 of a mile, and then the A-Ball Trail is going to meet up with you, which comes from A-Ball Campground. This is a very, very popular, the most popular trailhead that people climb Katahdin come out of. Now, I ascended Katahdin at 9:30 in the morning. On my descent, I saw hundreds of people coming up the A-Ball Trail. So if you want to avoid the massive chaos and tons of people on top of Katahdin, would suggest that you want to leave very early in the morning to start your summit. It took me about 2 hours, maybe just over 2 hours to summit Katahdin. Remember, I had been on the trail for 2,200 miles, so it was in very good condition. I would say the average thru hiker is probably going to take between 2 to 3 hours to climb up to get to the top of Katahdin. But after A-Ball and Hunt meet, then you got just under a mile to reach the very top of Katahdin. Now, this is where your descent, you have a few different options of what you can do. The first option is go back down the way you came, which is down the Hunt Trail. And once you get to the end of the gateway and you descend this part right here, this is pretty intense. Southbounders, obviously you're going to be taking the Hunt Trail back down. Would highly recommend that you get a day pack and not take your entire thru hiking pack and pick it up here at the Katahdin Stream Campground Ranger Station, because this area right here, this is where people get hurt when they're descending, especially for those that haven't been on the trail for a very long time, might not have some of the skill sets that they've learned, like the northbounders have from 2,200 miles of hiking the trail. So for southbounders, it's going to be very easy. You're going down the Hunt. For northbounders, that's one of your options. Now, the thing is here, if you have people that are meeting you in Baxter State Park, they can only have parking either at Katahdin Stream, A-Ball, or Roaring Brook. Now, there are options where you can have someone just pick you up. If they just pick you up, they don't have a parking permit. It's going to cost them $15, which is the park entrance fee, unless they are from Maine. They have Maine tabs in their car. Most probably won't. But if they're picking you up, they can pick you up at any of these three, but they can't park. So you're going to have to arrange that well. But for me, I had to go back down and meet my parents at Katahdin Stream Campground because that's where their parking permit was. Now, the other two options that you have is going down A-Ball Trail, which is going to be less mileage. I think it ends up working out to be just over 3 miles to get from the top of Katahdin down to A-Ball Campground. Let's see here. So we got 1.4 miles. I think that's 0.9, so 2.3, 2.6, and 3.5. So 3.5 miles compared to 5.2. So we'll cut off some. Of course, this is going to be a little steeper right here. I didn't take this trail, so I can't speak on experience what this was like, but I saw a lot of day hikers hiking this trail. So anyway, I know that a lot of thru hikers went up the Hunt Trail up to Baxter and then went back down A-Ball Trail down to A-Ball Campground. Again, however you're getting home, which I'll be covering in another video, you just want to make sure that someone can pick you up at one of these three if you have family or friends that are meeting you. Your other option, and this is probably the coolest option, is to continue over Katahdin and take in the Knife's Edge. You probably heard about the Knife Edge, and you're above tree line the entire time, and you're on this ridge line that you don't have a lot of margin for error. It's pretty intense from the videos that I've seen. I originally wanted to take the Knife Edge, but the only problem was you take the Knife Edge over to the Helen Taylor Trail, and you'll take the Helen Taylor Trail all the way down to Roaring Brook. Well, my parents had a parking permit for Katahdin Stream Campground, and I didn't want to figure out the logistics of how they can come over here and pick me up at Roaring Brook, so I just decided not to take the Knife Edge Trail. But this will be an experience. You can take the Knife Edge down to Helen Taylor. Ends up being, 3.9 miles, so it's going to be less than taking the Hunt Trail, but you'll be on the other side of the park. Nobos, that is your plan for ascending and descending. Sobos will be a little bit of the opposite, but you do have another option you can do as well. So obviously I covered the Hunt Trail. You can go up and down the Hunt Trail. You can check in this ranger station and change your packs out. The other option that you can have, of course, is going up A-Ball. I think that's a pretty popular option. Going up A-Ball to the to the peak and then going back down to hunt, because obviously that would be the start of your through hike. Now, the other interesting option you can do, one of two things over here in Roaring Brook. If you want to go over Knife's Edge, you can go one of two ways. You can go up Helen Taylor to Knife's Edge, all the way up to Katahdin Peak. Now, the other option you have is taking Chimney Pond. Chimney Pond Trail here is moderate. That's how Baxter State Park classifies this trail. Everything else is either strenuous or very strenuous. So Chimney Pond is not too bad. You're not going to gain a ton of elevation, and you can stay right here at Chimney Pond. Of course, you have to have a reservation to stay here, but if you wanted to, you could split up the hike up to Katahdin in 2 days if you wanted to go out of Roaring Brook, take Chimney Pond, and staying at Chimney Pond. And then what you would do is take one of three trails to get to Katahdin. You either take the Saddle Trail, the Cathedral Trail, or the Dudley Trail, which is going to connect to Knife Edge. If you want to do Knife Edge, you'd have to take the Dudley, or of course, again, you can make it just a day hike and take the Helen Taylor Trail and go up Knife Edge to Katahdin. So those are your options for Nobos and Sobos. Now, one thing that you want to make sure you keep in mind is that once you ascend Nobos, you have to add in your descent in your day. So I said earlier, the hunt trail, if you're going up and down the hunt trail, that's going to add an additional 5.2 miles to whatever day that you're having. If you're coming right out of Katahdin Stream Campground, no big deal. That'll be just over 10 miles in a day. But if you're coming from Abel Bridge Campground, you're looking at a 20-mile day. And if you decide to do the Knife Edge and go down Helen Taylor, coming from Abel Bridge Campground, now you're looking somewhere around the 18, 19 miles. So really kind of depends on what your exit strategy is off of Katahdin, but make sure you plan that in for Nobos and Sobos too. So Sobos, you cannot stay at the Birches, which is going to be down in here. My recommendation for you guys is to make a reservation either at Katahdin Stream Campground, because again, you're going to have somewhere between a 9 to 13-mile hike, depending on which of the three trailheads that you come out of. But for a first day in climbing one of the more difficult climbs on the Appalachian Trail, that's a lot. So I recommend staying at Katahdin Stream Campground and making a reservation in advance, so you're not overdoing yourself and getting hurt. Your other option then would be walking out of Baxter State Park and going to Abel Bridge Campground, which now makes your day up in the 20s, and that's just a huge day to start off with. So keep that in mind. Want to talk a little bit about options that you have. Family, your friends, your loved ones, whoever is coming out and wants to be a part of the kickoff or send-off of your thru hike. First and foremost, if you're planning on staying in Baxter State Park, you want to make sure that you're reserving as far in advance as you can. So to do that, you're going on the baxterstatepark.org website. So we clicked on reservations, and the three trailheads that are going to make sense for you to stay at is Abel, Katahdin Stream, or Roaring Brook. Now, Katahdin Stream is going to make the most sense because that is where the AT goes right through, and if you plan it perfectly, you'd be able to meet your thru hiker there and stay with them, and it's right on the trail. Now, you can make reservations up to 4 months in advance. Now, the problem is, depending on when you're going in, right now this is set for August 22nd. You can see a lot of these reservations are already taken. If I just go, let's look at the end of this month. So very little spots left. And this is kind of what the problem is Katahdin Stream Campground, you're probably not going to be able to book a spot or reservation to Katahdin Stream until you know when your thru hiker is going to be here, and that can be kind of tricky. So this might not be your best choice to stay, but again, it is a choice: Katahdin Stream, Abel, or Roaring Brook. Now, one of the other choices that I recommend is Abel Bridge Campground. Now, with Abel Bridge Campground, you can book. They told me on the phone this morning that typically, if you call them 2 weeks in advance, you should be able to get a reservation during their peak time. Their peak time is August and September. And again, this is going to be the only place that you're going to have, accommodations. So they have a camp store there that they offer food. You have breakfast. It's all included in the price of stay is a nice hot meal in the morning. They have a restaurant. They have a camp store, and they also have showers, which you're not going to have when you're in Baxter State Park. Now, the tent and RV sites, this is what the accommodations look like. There are no hookups, so you don't have electricity over there. And it's $23 per person, minimum 2 people, till the 31st of July. And for the busy season, from August 1st to September 6th, you're looking at $25 per person. Now, you also can stay in bunkhouses right here. And basically, you can fit up to 6 people in there. The first 2 people are going to be $75, not a piece. That's for the $75 per couple, and $30 for each additional person after that. Again, there's no electricity. I mean, these are still pretty primitive, but they do come with mattresses, which is nice because I heard that Baxter State Park, at their bunkhouses, they do not have mattresses. But A-Ball Bridge Campground is a really cool place. I definitely would have stayed here over Baxter State Park. This picture right here is the view from A-Ball Bridge, which I was talking about earlier. Just a fantastic view of Katahdin. But this is probably going to be your best option of where to stay if you're trying to align the time when your thru hiker is coming through here, because you should be able to get reservations 2 weeks before your hiker hits this area. Now back to Baxter State Park. If you are planning on hiking up the trail with your thru hiker, really the same things apply for the section that I just went through. The hunt trail is going to be difficult, and a lot of people that haven't hiked much are going to have a real problem coming up the hunt trail. So what I know they recommend is, if you truly want to be on top of the peak by the time that your thru hiker gets up there, your best course might be breaking it into 2 days, going to Chimney Pond, staying at the Chimney Pond shelter, and then going up Saddle or Cathedral. You're probably not going to want to do the Knife's Edge because it's going to be pretty intense. But anyway, those are a couple of your options, but it's going to be pretty intense. So just kind of keep that in mind. All right, so let's talk about parking. Parking, a couple different options here, and this can kind of get a little bit confusing, but this is really important. First and foremost, again, you can pick somebody up from Baxter State Park without having a parking permit. It's going to cost you $15. Unless if you're from Maine, have a license plate from Maine, it's going to cost $15 to enter the park. You won't be able to park anywhere. Just go in, pick up your hiker, and then leave. Now, most of you are probably going to want to meet your hiker somewhere and then park at one of the 3 trailheads. So the most popular trailhead, of course, is going to be Katahdin Stream Campground. Then, of course, you got A-Ball and you got Roaring Brook. Now, parking spots, this is also very, very important. The parking spots, there's only a certain amount of reserved spots every day. And I can click and show you exactly how many that you actually get here. For Katahdin Stream, there's only 27 passes that they give out each day. Roaring Brook is 37 and A-Ball is only 16. Now, if you are staying in Baxter State Park the night before, you have access of staying in your parking spot of whatever campground you're at to be able to do your hike the day of. So these spots do not include the folks that are staying in the campground, because there's also parking for them as well, but there is limited spots. So going back to this, it's going to cost you $5 to make a reservation for parking. And again, you're going to have to pay $15 per day when you enter, or you can also buy an annual pass, which I think costs $40. Now, for any unreserved spots, they will start to fill up at a first come, first served basis starting at 6 o'clock in the morning. The Toke Gate, which is where you enter Baxter State Park, opens up at 6 o'clock in the morning. And you want to be there extremely early. Now, if you have a reservation, you have to be in Baxter State Park by 7 o'clock a.m. Or else they will give your spot up to whoever is next in line. We arrived at the Toke gate at 5:30 in the morning just because we wanted to make sure we were there in time. But there was a long, long line of cars to get in. So make sure you come very early. Again, first come, first serve if you don't have a parking reservation. But honestly, if you're going during peak season, I would not rely on first come, first serve. I would make sure that you get your parking reservation in advance and get there probably before 6 o'clock. Again, we got there at 5:30 and we were able to get there in the park just fine, but I wouldn't be showing up past 6 o'clock. But I believe Baxter State Park recommended to get there at least a half an hour before the Toke Pond gate opens.
All right, guys. Well, that wraps up everything that I could think that you need to know about climbing and descending Katahdin, everything about Baxter State Park, and everything in between that. Now, just another quick note. I mentioned this earlier, but I just want to hit it again. If you have friends and family that are meeting you in Baxter State Park and have a parking reservation at one of the 3 trailheads, they can only park at that specific trailhead. Now, for me, because my parents had a parking reservation at Katahdin Stream Campground, that really limited my choices of where I could descend because I had to end back at Katahdin Stream Campground. I don't remember there being great cell phone coverage up in Baxter State Park, so it might be difficult for you to communicate with your loved ones if you want them to pick you up somewhere else. So make sure you take that into account. If there's anything that I missed, please put it below in the comments. I know a lot of you that watch my channel here have previously thru-hiked the Appalachian Trail, and this is honestly everything that I could come up with, what I could remember, and research that I did. Now, next week, I'm going to throw out a video of everything that you need to know about how to get home from Katahdin. So you just summited. How do you get home? How do you get out of Baxter State Park? Where do you need to go from Millinocket to the next airport? What does that look like? So I'll talk about and tackle that next week. Thanks, everyone. Stay tuned for more Bigfoot sightings, and remember to always follow Bigfoot.